Hello and welcome. You're watching The Reporter on NDTV Profit and I'm your host Pragati Oberoi. Now before we begin this show, we wish our viewers a very Merry Christmas. Let's take a quick look at the top stories at this hour. Markets snap a 7-week gaining streak despite 2 straight days of gains. The UK economy has performed worse than previously thought and below the expectations of several economists, according to the new official figures. Now, this has led to fears over a potential job loss as well. Adani Green Energy plans to raise $2 billion of debt next year, according to a report from Bloomberg. Apple has now stopped the sale of Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 in the US on its online stores as well. French President Emmanuel Macron is said to be the chief guest at the Republic Day on 26 January. Now, his presence would make him the 6th French leader to grace this occasion. Now, let's take a deep dive into how the markets fared during the day. Despite ending higher on the second consecutive day, the Indian benchmark indices could not reverse Wednesday's losses and ended this week lower after their 7-week rally. My colleague Himansh joins us to wrap all the D Street action this week. Sorry, I just got to know that my colleague Neeraj is joining us to wrap all the D Street action this week. Neeraj, over to you.
Interesting day for the markets because we're heading into the long weekend not in a measured manner, but even if it was not a trending day, we ended well. Now, this is what the indices did today. Save for the bank Nifty sulking, it was overall a good day. The Nifty 50 ending 0.4% higher, 94 points. The Sensex about 241 points. And possibly the principal reason for this was the performance of the Nifty IT. Led by Wipro and HCL Tech, Nifty IT put up a really strong show, 2.27% higher, 791 points. And you can see this, that while it started off okay, Nifty IT had a fabulous move and ended up almost near the day's high. So actually that was a really good show for Nifty IT. It almost made me swirl around, just the kind of move that Nifty IT had. Now, the broader end of the spectrum was the other thing where the story was very positive. So look at this. The mid-cap index was up about 0.8% and the small caps about 1%. And the market breadth, which at a point of time threatened to break even, eventually ended the day very well and not at the highest point of the day, but certainly the advanced decline ratio looked very positive. Let's get the heat map up on the screen and show you what is moving and what not. So this is symptomatic of what happened at the broader end of the spectrum as well, by the way. The gainers outnumbered the losers. And even on the Nifty, you can see that about 12 stocks in the red to 38 stocks in the green, led by Wipro, 6.5%. Lot of rumors around what could the possible reason be. Don't want to dwell into that. Maybe some hirings, maybe something else, but certainly something afoot, which is why 6.5% for Wipro. HCL Tech, about 2.5% giving it company. And there was some strength in Infosys as well, the big boy, 1.6% higher. And that puts some weightage on Nifty IT as well as the Nifty. Aside of IT, I think autos had a good day. Bajaj Auto 2.37%, Tata Motors and Hero Moto 2 had a strong outing, and Maruti giving them company about 2%. So it was all about IT and auto. Never mind the fact that banks sulked in trade. So while Grasim was the top loser, the principal culprits today, HDFC Bank, SBI, Bajaj Finance and ICICI Bank. So look at this whole block of banks which led the bank Nifty and eventually put a little bit of pressure on the Nifty as well. The broader of the spectrum, though, as I said, did really well. Look at the gainers for the Nifty 500 maybe. So these are individual movers. Of course, Piramal Pharma on the back of that ICICI Securities note was up 9%. There was strength in JB Chemicals as well today. And GAIL, 7.5%. Haven't been able to quite figure out, while JB Chem had news, GAIL, I don't quite know why, but the stock was very active today. Wipro, of course, as we said, had some specific news, but Keystone Real Estate about 7% higher. There was strength in Castrol today, up about 7% as well. So good showing for these stocks as well. And while there were some losers like Polycab, which went down about 4.5% today, talk of some, not really an action but a lot of rumor mills surrounding Polycab today, so that was down about 4.5. IFL Finance had a large block deal. Apparently, Fairfax has exited, but the stock did not end at the day's low. When the deal happened, it was about 558 or 555 thereabouts, ended at about 571, so good going there. And Varun Beverages too, sold about 4%. And when a stock moves up 10%, the market cap goes up an astonishing 15,000 crores on the back of one acquisition of 1,200 crores. You have to admit that it kind of seems a bit off, and now this seems to be a more rational move for Varun Beverages. Remember, it's not a cheap stock, it is an expensive stock as well. So these were some losers of the Nifty 500. And lastly, some stocks which are in news today. LIC getting that extension for the minimum public shareholding norms, and that stock ended about 3.5%. And while it didn't end the high point of the day, it did not end, but still did well. So about 4% higher or thereabouts for LIC, 3.6 to be precise. And like I said, GAIL and Wipro were the others. GAIL about 7.5%. Again, the stock didn't start off well, but ended nearly at the high point of the day, and a lot of buy calls came in the last 1 hour of trade for GAIL. And lastly, as I said, Wipro 6.5%, again ending at the high point of the day. It'll be interesting to see if Wipro has some developments and if the stock can actually carry forth this momentum come Tuesday morning. So all in all, a good day of trade. Volumes also okay, breadth reasonably fine, and participation from a lot of large caps, even if banks were down about 1%. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, that was the market check for you at the end of the week. But during the day's trade, IFL Finance was also a player that we had our eyes on. The company saw a block deal where 2.21 crore shares exchanged hands, now which amount to roughly 5.8% of equity. Sources also told NDTV Profit that Fairfax likely sold over 5% stake in the company. You can also see the chart of IFL Finance and the large deal on your screens. Now, Fairfax also held 20.9% in IFL Finance as of September 30th. With this sale, that stake is expected to now go down. IFL Finance also faced a beating in the trade during the day, as my colleague previously explained during the market wrap as well. And yesterday, it announced its exposure to Alternate Investment Fund or AIF as well after the RBI crackdown. Well, that was all on IFL Finance. Let's move on. We have an update on Jet Airways. NCLAT dealt a setback to Jalan Calraw Consortium, which was also the successful bidder for the revival of the airline. Now, the consortium's plea challenging the sale of the airline's aircraft was dismissed by the tribunal. We have Charu joining us with more details on this. Charu, over to you.
Hi, Pragati. So, as you said, the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has refused to restrain the sale of aircraft, the grounded aircraft fleet of the Jet Airways. So, let's understand what this is about. In November last year, this deal was finalized with Ace Aviation. However, it was halted due to the differences between the JKC consortium and the lenders. And now this year, after the NCLT ruling, when the NCLT ruling came and the NCLAT heard this case, they realized that even if they go ahead with the sale of the aircraft, none of the stakeholders would really be affected adversely. And the 400 crores which would be brought in by the sales of the aircraft could be distributed according to the resolution plan. First, they would be deposited in an escrow account and then, distributed according to the resolution plan. And now the dispute between the lenders and the JKC consortium, Jalan Kalra consortium, is continuing. But it's a ray of hope for the airline that some funds would be coming in by the sales of the aircraft. And it is also positive news for Ace Aviation. And however, another case is going on at NCLAT currently, which is about the infusion of funds by the JKC as being demanded by the lenders, as they are saying that the condition precedents for the successful bidder of an airline like Jet Airways are not being fulfilled by the consortium. So that case is continuing, but for now, for Ace Aviation, it is a good news.
All right, Charu, thanks so much for that update. While you're at it, I request you to stay a little longer with us here because we're getting a sense that the NCLT is set to convene on 17 Jan to hear the insolvency plea filed by the BCCI against Byju's operator Think and Learn. So could you please help us with more details on this update?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a case from NCLT Bangalore, where BCCI has basically initiated insolvency proceedings against Byju's, its parent company, and it is regarding default of an unpaid amount, approximately around 158 crores. And we had some statements from Byju's as well while we reported this earlier. They said that they are looking for settlements, and the case has not properly been heard yet. Only notices on the proceedings have been issued to the edtech company, and now it would later be heard in the second week of January next year. And let's see how it unfolds. Baiju has told us before also that they're looking for settlement, but we'll look at the arguments and the submissions before the NCLT bench in the coming hearing, and we'll know more about it.
All right, Charu, thanks so much for all those updates. We'll come back to you as soon as you hear more on that. Now, ahead of the festivities in the new year, the central government has released nearly 73,000 crore rupees of tax devolution dues to states. My colleague Janani has more details on this.
The centre has released an additional installment of tax devolution to the states ahead of the new year. Now, according to the central tax devolution formula as instructed by the 15th Finance Commission, 14 installments are given to state every year. Now, these are divided into monthly installments. So this means states do get 2 additional installments every year. Now, the first installment went on the first month of the financial year, and the last installment so far has been on the 11th of December, about 72,961 crores similarly. Now, this installment would be in addition, the one that was released as of Friday, to the one that will be released again in the new year on the 10th of January. That's all we have for you now. Back to you in the studios.
That was the update on tax devolution to states. It's time for a short break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching The Reporter on NDTV Profit. Let's go on and have a look at the big news maker of the day, LIC. Now, the government has set a deadline of May 2032 to raise the public shareholding in LIC. Currently, the public shareholding is at 3.5%, which needs to be raised to 25%. You can also have a look at the chart that is there on our screens. Now, in such a case, what can the government exactly do and what options does it have? We had the banking editor Vishwanath Nair breaking down the details for you. Here's a look at it.
As we know, the government has given time till May 2032 for LIC to reduce the promoter shareholding stake so that it could meet the minimum public shareholding guidelines that SEBI has. Now, remember that this was to be achieved by 2024. So now this extension comes in, which gives the company as well as the government more time to achieve this. Essentially, the government has to offload about 21.5% stake, depending on the current shareholding structure. What SEBI allows companies like this to do is you could go through an OFS route, you could go for QIPs, ETFs as well as employee shares to reduce the stake. Typically, companies go with one of these multiple means available. Most people have not done a mix of various routes to reduce promoter shareholding and increase public shareholding. In the LIC case specifically, the government is likely to go for the OFS route. But if they do that, then there's a problem, because it's 21.5% and over a 10-year period, that would be roughly about 2% every year. LIC's current market cap is in excess of 5 lakh crore. So that would mean that over 1 lakh crore rupees worth of shares will be floating around in the market if the government does go for OFS, which will, of course, end up depressing value. The current free float is quite thin. The share price, LIC, while it has gone up over the last few months, we are still far behind the IPO price of about 949 rupees per share. So that's going to be an issue that the government will have to deal with and will have to consider while they go ahead with this kind of a share sale. Now, remember that the government itself does have the power to change the timeline as much as it wants to, because currently in a public sector entity, the government can decide whether it wants to achieve the minimum public shareholding or not. That's a call that the government can take, and by the end of this 2032 period, it could very well be that the government takes more time to achieve the MPS requirements.
Well, that was Vishwanath Nair breaking down those details for you on LIC. Let's move on. The IPO frenzy was there all around, and NDTV Profit was bringing you all the details. As you all know, the primary market was abuzz with several IPOs this week. My colleague Saloni Kothari now joins us to give us a wrap on the IPOs that recently got opened for subscription. Over to you.
Right, Pragati, as you mentioned, this week was about IPOs. We had 8 companies, coming up with their public issues. And today, actually, if I want to talk about, 2 IPOs, actually, Azad Engineering IPO, which closed today. It's overall subscribed over 73 times as of 4 p.m. on last day, led by QIBs, that is qualified institutional buyers, subscribing over 150 times. And then NIIs, which have subscribed over 85 times. So we can definitely see that, even if it's the IPO that's been closing towards the end of the week, the demand and the interest obviously hasn't gone away from the investors. The price band of the same was, rupees 499 to 524. So now, the eyes will be on the listing as to how the companies will list on the exchanges, probably mostly next week. And talking about Innova CapTab IPO, it is opened till Tuesday. So as of, 4 p.m. on day 2, it is overall subscribed about 3 times, again oversubscribed, as I mentioned. This is led by retail investors of over 4x, NIIs about 3 times, and QIBs of over 1x. And the price band of the same is about 426 to 448. And this is the last month of the year. So, and we've already seen so many IPOs, and expectations are actually for the same for the next year as well.
All right, thanks so much for that quick wrap on the IPO frenzy this week. Let's move on to a little grim issue, the Tamil Nadu floods. Now, we all know that the floods have caused a havoc, and the government has allotted 900 crore rupees for this. Now, in the latest update that we have for you is that the finance minister also said that the centre's allocation has already been given to the state. We have Janani joining us once again to give more details on this.
We're talking to you from the sidelines of the Finance Minister's press conference on the Tamil Nadu flood relief efforts that have been taken. The Finance Minister here spoke on how the state had already been forewarned, in fact, as of December 12th, that there would be heavy to very heavy rainfall, and adequate measures were perhaps not taken on the state's front. She also spoke at length about the relief and rescue measures that have been taken. So far, the centre's State Disaster Response Fund allocation from the centre, an annual allocation of 900 900 crores is due to the state of Tamil Nadu. This is out of a total state disaster response fund of 1,200 crores. 900 crores has already been sent by the union government, is what Sitaraman told reporters here in New Delhi. 450 crores was sent before even the incident had occurred, and the second installment of 450 crores was sent as of December 12th. Now, speaking in the parliament a little earlier this week, she had also spoken about insurance teams being sent on the ground of Union Insurance and 4 other insurances. So today she also spoke about how these teams are on ground. However, they would have to be waiting until the water recedes to take stock of the efforts on the ground and what can be done better. We're still awaiting if there will be additional allocation by the Ministry of Home Affairs. It has sent a concerted team, an interministerial team that has gone on the ground to analyze what the ground situation is, and from there it will submit its report to a committee led and chaired by the Home Minister, and after that any additional funds, if to be allocated, will be done so. That's all we're hearing from here. Back to you.
Well, that was the update on Tamil Nadu. Let's move on to a news update that we have for you. Now, Biocon subsidiary Biocon Biologics has signed an agreement with Sandoz to promote, sell and distribute adalimumab BS for a specific injection in the Japanese market. Now, this drug is mostly used to treat autoimmune related problems. That's all from this side. Moving on, we have a very interesting segment for you called the What's Trending on Social Media. Now, as per my colleague and the social media that they have scanned, we have an update coming out of the European football. Our colleague Mridul Negi is standing by to tell us more. Mridul, what's this about?
So, Pragati, there is a very interesting development going on in the world of football where the European Court of Justice has come out and said that FIFA and UEFA's move to curb clubs from joining the Super League in 2021 were unlawful. They said that the competition that was conceived by 12 of the major clubs in Europe called Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid were unlawful. So, after this announcement that the clubs have gone for a competition to create a rival for Champions League, Barcelona and Real Madrid are the only 2 clubs remaining out of the original 12. So we have to go back to 2021 to understand what the whole story is. These clubs created a competition to rival the Champions League. They argued that the Super League will give them more revenue sharing out of the whole pot. It will improve their balance sheets, it will improve their bottom line, and it will overall create a better fan experience. Now the latest judgment has given calls that the competition could be back and it could rival the Champions League. Will it happen or will it not? We'll keep a close eye. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Mridul. We'll keep coming back to you as soon as you have more updates on that. Now, before we wrap this show, everyone has to wear clothes. It is perhaps the most basic act of daily living, but we never really consider how scary it can be for those with special abilities. Now, buttoning shirts can be a challenge, tight fits won't accommodate diapers, regular placement of pockets won't work for those in the wheelchairs. So the question remains that how can fashion be more inclusive? Now, as a part of the Samarth initiative by Hyundai, we take a look at what adaptive clothing is all about.
This action may look simple, but it alone can become a daily reminder of inaccessibility for people who have disabilities. Soumita Basu is keenly aware of the significance of accessible or adaptive clothing for people with disabilities. She was struck by psoriatic arthritis, which affected her body muscles from the age of 28. This condition made the simple act of sliding clothes on and off quite challenging for her. And that is how Zenica Inclusive Fashion was born.
You can see this something like a yellow top behind me. The yellow top is something that, a caregiver can help a person wear without having to move any part of her hands or anything. She can just sit and it just opens up and the caregiver just, wraps it around. That's as simple as that. We have show buttons. We hide velcros under it or magnets under it. So, it just opens and closes like that. So we have, as I said, the zips are there. With just one finger, you can take it up and down. Flap openings, where men, particularly elderly men, I make sure my pockets are at such a place that you can access them while you're sitting or standing. The whole mantra of my brand is that Your clothes are meant to fit you. You're not meant to fit your clothes.
While Soumita's and her mother Amita's work is often showcased in exhibitions like this one,
this is the website of Ekansh Trust.
Anita Iyer Narayan's collected designs are available online. Anita is a disability rights advocate and the founder of the NGO Ekansh Trust. Her unique online catalogue features 15 designs of functional adaptive clothing chosen from a pool of 52 submissions by fashion design students from across the country.
These are very, very simple solutions. So instead of, and also if a caregiver is taking care of you, so can we have the buttons at the back so that you don't feel very embarrassed about somebody dressing you up. So the zipper could be to the side so that everybody's dignity is respected, if I can put it that way. So that is what our catalogue basically intends to do, to just give the choice back to the person with a disability and the caregiver, and they can have it tailored anywhere.
Designer Anju Modi doesn't have a clothing line for people with disabilities. Instead, she works with each client individually to create clothes meant only for them. And every year, she and some of India's other top designers participate in this fashion show, organized by the Fashion Design Council of India in collaboration with the Tamanna School. Its purpose is to raise awareness around a more inclusive approach to fashion.
I've been involved with Tamanna since last 7-8 years. Every year we present a collection, and then every year we are associated with one special child and we make clothing for that person. These kind of initiatives should be more often be brought into limelight so that more people get involved.
Clothing is a powerful tool in defining who you are as a person. Clothes should bring comfort, confidence, and also dignity, not be yet another barrier to accessibility.